Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? I'm so excited to be here. I've been seeing some awesome workshops at the Chainlink hackathon, and I've been talking to people who are hacking away at some really cool projects. But also, I'm so excited to see everybody who's just learning a lot about Web3. Super excited to see all of this energy and to help you all build what you want to build. I'm here today with Alchemy. I wanted to do something a little bit different, talk about my personal story building some NFT projects. So that way you guys can see some of the architecture that I've been able to figure out and hopefully inspire some new projects for you guys as well. So cool. Some quick background. My name is Albert. Hi, I'm a developer advocate at Alchemy. I'm currently building two NFT projects. One is called Chibi Shinobis, and you can actually see this on the right side here. This is my one of my one-of-ones that's made for the founding team. Super cute. I really am proud of this project and the team that's been building this. And I've also worked on another one called Cool Bombs. So later on in this presentation, I'm going to talk about how I actually built Chibi Shinobis on Ethereum. And in the first part, I'm actually going to tell the story of how I even learned about NFTs and a really brief history of NFTs in general. So previously, before joining as a developer advocate at Alchemy, I was also a full stack software engineer working on web apps and mobile apps at a couple of other companies. So yeah, super excited once again to be here because I've been wanting to work full-time in crypto for a long time. And now I finally get to do it and help enable other people. So it's awesome. All right, cool. So let's start with my journey into NFTs. I actually first heard about NFTs just a couple of months ago. It's pretty recent. And the reason is that I joined this kind of a YouTube crypto creator fellowship program where they were basically training people to become video creators for crypto and NFT content. And one of the stories that they put us onto was this, what are NFTs anyway? One just sold for $69 million. And this was something that, a lot of people were talking about, the Beeple collection that sold for just a huge amount of money. And when I first saw this, I was like, wow, this is pretty crazy. Why are people spending so much money on digital images? And for people who haven't seen this before, on the right side, this is actually the collection that was sold for $69 million. It's a collection of 5,000 pieces, really high resolution pieces of these kind of like trippy artistic renderings of something. And this artist Beeple made one every single day for 5,000 days. That's about 13 years of everyday art. And the collection is called Everydays, aptly. And this collector called Metacoven bought it for $69 million. So I was looking at this like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I have to learn about it and figure it out. So the way I really like to learn is to get involved. And I had like basically a small amount of funds set aside where I was like, okay, cool. This is kind of like, I'm going to treat this as my education fund. I'm going to use this to buy some NFTs, create some NFTs, and just like understand what this whole ecosystem is about. So the very first NFT I bought is from this collection called Crypto Leos. And you can see here, it's like pixel art. It's called Crypto Leos because it's a pixelated version of the Leonardo DiCaprio meme of, if you've seen Django Unchained, he's holding like a martini glass and laughing. And the way I found out about this project is actually one of the fellow students in the fellowship that I'm part of was making these and making videos about them. And so I learned a lot about this project where I got involved with the Twitter, the Discord. There are a lot of people who are basically just posting memes all day, being really proud of having one of these Crypto Leos. And the artist talks about, hey, we're going to be so big someday, it's going to flip CryptoPunks. And having all this energy. And his whole vision was we're going to make 1,000 Crypto Leos, and every single day we're going to put out a new version. So it's going to look pretty similar to this, but it'll have a different flavor every day. So like an Elon Musk Leo, a Spider-Man Leo, there's a lot of pop culture involved. So anyways, I saw this, I was like, this is pretty cool. I'll choose this as my starting point. And then what came next was really interesting. I saw the energy and I was like, hey, I kind of want to add on to it. And with the permission of the original artist, David Gersh, I actually made what's called a derivative. So in the NFT community, there are people who want to pay homage to the original collection, and they'll actually make a new collection that's their own flavor that they own, but it has similar attributes. So what I made is actually a wrap. I made a wrap of the Crypto Leos community. And I don't have the clip here, but it goes something like this, where it's like, crypto Leo's on my mind, crypto Leo's all the time, every single day, every single kind, crypto Leo's on my mind. So that's the hook. And then there's like a bunch of lyrics that go on. So I thought this was really fun because I was like, oh, I wanted to capture like some essence of this project. And I actually listed it for auction for resale. And what's amazing is that David Gersh, the original artist of the original collection, purchased my piece. And then he relisted it, and someone else in the community who really wanted to be involved in the Crypto Leo community, they actually ended up buying this piece for 1 Ether later on. And the amazing thing about NFTs is that you can kind of codify the royalty system. So I was getting paid out on the secondary sale without having to do anything else. So this was a really interesting like user arc for me, where I got involved with the project. I made my own art, became an artist in the sense, and also was able to kind of contribute back to the community and make some money, which is really awesome. So what this showed me is that NFTs, they're not really, I mean, if you're joining in the right way, I don't know if the price is necessarily the right amount of money that should be going into the digital art in its current state. But what I did see was real is this community energy. And you can see some snapshots here of the Discord, where after I dropped the rap, a lot of people in the community, they were quoting it all the time. This became kind of like a motto. And so it was really fun to be involved in this way. And just another data point to kind of drive the point home, where NFTs are more than just art. It's also this kind of status, where in the Discord, I helped set this up, but we have this bot where it will actually verify your Ethereum wallet and check how many crypto Leos you have. So at the very bottom here, we like to poke fun at ourselves, just a warning. This, I guess, rank, you can call it, is called Leotard. So if you have 1 Leo in your wallet, you get this nice pink name. If you have, I think, at least 3 Leos, you get the Whale Leotard rank, and you get this purple name. And then if you have more than 10, you get the Mega Whale Leotard. And then David Gersh is the creator, so he's the Crypto Leo. So this is really interesting, because now it's like, when people are chatting in the Discord, you see a purple name, you're like, oh, hey, this person is really invested in the project, and they've been around, and they have these Leos. And so this whole story goes to illustrate NFTs are about community and status more than even just the art component. So that was a really enlightening experience. So hopefully I can share that for people who haven't experienced that firsthand. Awesome. So after I got that taste of NFTs, I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting it now, but where did NFTs come from? I kind of want to understand the history so that I can understand the different ways NFTs have evolved over time, and then understand like how can I contribute in my own journey if I were to make my own. So I looked into it. If you haven't heard about CryptoPunks yet, you're hearing about it here, and you probably will continue to hear about it. They're one of the first NFT projects to really become like super famous. There are previous NFT projects as well, but this one was made by Larva Labs. They had this idea of, hey, like, in 2017, we're seeing all these ICOs and tokens being traded. What if we made a non-fungible token where each one is one of 10,000 non-repeating algorithmically generated images. They all have their own personality, and they have different rarities depending on like the different traits you see here on the right. And people can own them and collect them, kind of like trading cards. And this was like one of the first projects. They basically gave it away for free. Didn't charge any money. You just had to like, I think, pay some gas to like collect it. And what's interesting about this project is it really helped shape the ERC 721 standard for NFTs that came later. So what I'm talking about is here you can see the ABI file or the ABI like interface for the CryptoPunks contract. And I know the text might be a little bit small, but I'll walk through this real quick. So on the top here, we have get punk. This is an example of one of the functions that you can interact with on the CryptoPunks smart contract. And so this function allows you to claim ownership of a punk, and it's no longer useful as all 10,000 punks have been claimed. So this is essentially their mint function, or like, kind of create the NFT function. So, for example, if you said like, hey, I want to claim ownership of punk number 1, you pass that in to get punk, and then your address would be associated with punk index 1. And then you have another function, transfer punk, that allows you to transfer ownership of a punk to someone without requiring any payment, versus, offer punk for sale where it would require payment. But then with this function, you would send an address or put in an address of someone you want to transfer to, and then you would put, presumably the CryptoPunk that you own. And then the actual implementation in the smart contract would make sure to do all the proper checks for, hey, does this person actually own the punk so that they have the right to transfer it? And then, do some other checks. So this is kind of what the ABI looks like. And what we'll see here is this mint function, this transfer function, the offer for sale. It ended up becoming generalized to be included in the ERC 721 contract so that everybody else can have this like very nice common language for how NFTs work. So this is what it looks like actually right here. I don't have the whole ERC 721, but if you Google it, you'll be able to see the whole standard. And so you can see some common events here. So what this is saying is if you have an NFT project that you want to be compatible and compliant with the ERC 721 standard, then you must implement these events, these functions, so that anybody who wants to interact with your NFT knows that these are available. So an example is this transfer function. You can put in this event. It's not a function. When this event is emitted, it's going to include a from address, a to address, and the actual token ID that's being transferred. And so every NFT, every ERC 721 NFT on the Ethereum blockchain will be able to emit this type of event. You also have like a function down here, balance of, and there's a bunch of other functions I didn't include. But this standard is essentially how secondary marketplaces like OpenSea know that they can interact with your NFT without even having ever seen like your smart contract specifically, because every single one of them has like the same interface. So this was really cool. CryptoKitties was a project that came a little bit later. They were one of the first projects that kind of blew up that used the ERC 721 standard. And they have this really awesome mechanism that allowed users to breed new kitties. So what's cool is that you can you buy one kitty, you buy a second one, and then you can breed them. And then there's some probability that some of the traits from each of them are combined. So collectors and traders started breeding these so that they can kind of sell them on the market or attain, some holy grail kitty that only had this combination of traits. So this was a really interesting experiment too, that I learned about. And then this year, another project to really call out is this Bored Ape Yacht Club project. This was created, earlier this year during the spring, during the first like NFT boom, I would say this year. And they were one of the first, maybe the first profile picture collection project that I heard about. So they also did 10,000 pieces, just like CryptoPunks. And what's interesting about this project is it was not just this like collectible art series, but it also became this membership card where if you had one of these, you would get access to the special Bored Ape Yacht Club Discord. You get access to the website where you can like play with the pixel artboard type of a thing. You also get like first access to merchandise drops where they partnered with a streetwear brand, I think the Hundreds. And if you had one of these Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs, you were one of the people who can actually like purchase this real world merch. And they've had like real world meetups and things like that. So it's really interesting to see this NFT ecosystem with this project evolve from just like digital assets to also kind of a blend of culture and community and membership. So anyways, here's a group right here just to show you and give you some perspective on the NFT explosion. This is the OpenSea monthly volume on Ethereum. In August, pretty recently, it reached a peak of close to $3.5 billion of volume being traded, which is insane. And you can see the first bump, it's hardly noticeable actually in this perspective, but around springtime, there's that first rise. I think it was up to like $300 million in volume. So NFTs have just been blowing up, and they might be slowing down a little bit from the peak, but the volume is still crazy. So there's a lot of exploration, a lot of copycat projects, but a lot of activity overall. And then one last project I want to highlight is Loot. This one is really interesting and distinct from all the previous projects. Dom, right here on the top right, was the one to put out this smart contract and share it with the world. The idea with Loot is it is randomized adventurer gear. There are no images or stats, unlike CryptoLeos or Bored Ape Yacht Club and all these other projects. They're intentionally omitted for others to interpret. There's no fee, so he's not making any money off of this. You just pay the gas to interact with the contract. And there are 8,000 quote unquote bags of loot total. And then you can see this is literally what the NFT is. you have a list of words that represent randomized adventure gear. Now, what's crazy about this project is like the week following the drop of this smart contract, it sold out, people minted all of them, and they started building on top of it. So you can see here on the left side, Gremplin.eth says, sorry, can't stop thinking about loot. This is a real quick take on Hype ETH's #1 rarity bag and a Durbler style stash. So just to break this down a little bit, the #1 rarity bag here means that after everything was minted, people were able to analyze, okay, how many of these loot NFTs have, like, for example, the Divine Hood item. And they found out, oh, only 10 of them out of the 8,000 have it. And then maybe the hard leather belt is a really common one. So like 100 of them actually have this trait or this item. So #1 rarity bag just meant like the items in here were some of the most rare taken in combination. And then he drew some art and then actually created a collection of this art. And people started making all types of stuff. There were websites that basically ranked the different loots. There were people who were making games where you can use these loots as equipment and like battle each other. And then of course there were these art projects as well that someone even combined like an AI art generator to generate the art based on the words. And this tweet summarizes it really well down here. Paul Stamatu asked, can you explain loot in a tweet? And Redefined Life says, loot is NFT improv. It is an invitation to respond with yes and. So this was just amazing to witness, and it's still going strong today. And there are actually a lot of derivative projects that have branched off of this. So if any of you have heard of Developer DAO, go Developer DAO. This is also inspired by this loot project. So it's pretty cool to see this kind of like experimentation in NFTs. Awesome. And then now we're getting close to the kind of like technical overview of Chibi Shinobis. I just wanted to go over like some more of the ERC standards just for people who haven't heard of them. There's ERC20 versus ERC721 versus ERC1155, which is like the newest one. So I've talked a lot about ERC721. That's what a lot of NFTs are based off of. And that's pretty distinguished from ERC20, where ERC20 is things like Shiba token, I believe is in ERC20. They are fungible tokens. So one ERC20 is pretty much the same in value as another ERC20. They're both, a part of the same collection, and they're both interchangeable. Whereas with ERC721s and 1155s, they're non-fungible. So the non-fungible part just refers to the fact that if you have one CryptoPunk and another CryptoPunk, they're both part of the CryptoPunk collection, but there are so many different things about these two assets that make them distinct that they're not exactly equal. So the interfaces accordingly are very different. And so we've looked at the ERC721 contract. The 1155 contract is kind of like, I believe it's an extension of the 721. It also supports NFTs, but it also lets you combine it with a fungible aspect. And so I think people have used this to build like gachapon style drops, NFT drops, where you have an NFT that represents the like a box, and then you can actually burn that NFT to then trade for other NFTs. So like there's a bunch of items inside that box. So yeah, some cool stuff to be aware of as you explore your NFT projects. And then let me just go into how we made Chibi Shinobis. So this is really exciting. This is something I've been working on with a great team for the past month, maybe almost 2 months. This is the team, meet the team. It's me and then 3 other people. We've kind of combined our responsibilities for developing the actual smart contract, the website, but then also putting a lot of effort into making the art something that we are proud of and relate to, and then also managing the Discord. So Catherine has done a great job drawing a lot of the different layers of the face, the headband, the hair. Matt has worked a lot on really cool outfits. He's kind of like he's got like a hype beast streak inside of him. And so he designed some really awesome outfits and also one-of-ones. Valerie has also helped with the art, but she's a Discord community god. And he really helped build out some cool categories and fun things you can do in our Discord. So, and then I focused a lot on the smart contract side before we switched to Solana, but that's a different story. So that's our team. And then this is a preview of our art. So you can see like it has a common theme. It's like this cute ninja character that's looking at you. But there are common traits. So there are headbands, there's hairstyles, there's facial expressions, there's different outfits. And all of these are kind of interchangeable and have different rarity weightings that we kind of programmed into our script. So this is the actual architecture of the project. The project layout, the way I think of it is kind of generally two buckets. One is like the back-end work, and then one is the front-end work that's more user-facing. So on the back-end side, we have the image generation script that combines all the different parts of the art into one image that you see. Oops. Oh, there we go. That combines all of it into one piece. And then IPFS is a decentralized storage mechanism, kind of like how you might store assets in Google Cloud or Amazon S3, but it's decentralized. So it's actually stored on multiple computers around the world, and it has a whole protocol that underpins it. And then once the images are generated and stored on IPFS, then they are actually kind of managed and served by this metadata API server. And then the smart contract that we built knows about the URIs that the metadata API server exposes. And then finally, metrics and logging. Actually, this is where I relied a lot on Alchemy. I actually started this project before I even joined Alchemy, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But it's given us really great visibility. And then on the front end, we have the actual landing page, which shows people what the project is about. And then we have the Minter page where you can actually, once the project launches, you can hit a button and then interacts with the smart contracts for you to claim an NFT. So this is kind of the overall diagram. This is something I really wished I had when I was first getting into NFTs and trying to build it for myself, just to know like what are the different parts and things that you can kind of customize and build. So over here, start with the image generation script and kind of step through examples of each step. But I'll talk about the GIF for a second because it's kind of distracting. But you can see here different hairstyles being drawn, different facial expressions being experimented with, different body styles, things like that. So what our artists did is they actually, painstakingly crafted traits and different files. So each hairstyle is a different file on its own. And then in a Python script, which this link actually works. So if you want to visit this link, it's a great script to work off of. It actually just basically picks from like a collection of backgrounds and with background weights, a random background. And then this one says circle, but you can imagine hair. So a random array of hair attributes with rates, and then also like clothing styles. So these different traits, basically, we pick a random one from each collection and then smash them all together into one image. And that's the image generation script. So we had to do some custom things because sometimes we had long hair that would go over the head, but then behind the clothing. So we had to make some custom logic, but the idea is essentially here. And then once we had the art, so just to clarify, we essentially generated all of the art, so all like 8,000 images up front, and then we uploaded to IPFS storage, and then the smart contract links to each of those images. And as people are creating the actual NFT index, then they get access to see that image. But we're kind of doing this in chunks. So in the IPFS storage stage, we used I used Pinata to pin assets. This is something that's common in the IPFS, I guess, protocol world, where if you want to make sure that your image stays alive and perpetuity in this decentralized protocol, then you have to do what's something called pinning. And Pinata is one of the services out there that helps you pin. What's really cool is they had free storage up to 1 GB, so I could use it to test pretty easily. And their content IDs are linked to, the content IDs are basically what's generated when you upload an image. So what's interesting is if you upload the same image twice, the same CID is created from the hashing algorithm. So that makes sure that if you are talking about the same exact image, there's only ever one reference to it. And so over here, you can kind of see it's like this long hash string. That's actually the CID that I ultimately link into the smart contract, so that when you ask the smart contract, hey, can I see the image for my NFT, it'll ultimately point to the CID, and then we retrieve it from IPFS to display. So that's the IPFS portion. And then finally gets to the metadata server. The way I implemented this was a simple Node.js server that responds with metadata JSON blobs. And I'll actually show that real quick. This is what the blob looks like on the right. So you have fields such as what's the token ID of this NFT, what's the description of this project or this NFT, and then where can I find the image? So this is where you'll see the IPFS CID. And so if you're storing your image off chain, like the way I am on IPFS, this is where you would put that image location. So you don't have to use IPFS. You can even use some centralized service like Google Cloud or Google Photos or something, and you would just have to put that link in here, and then the smart contract would be able to serve that to people. But then we also have attributes, so different trait types, and then some other properties that you can add in here depending on whoever's consuming it. Just make sure that it's there. So this general structure is something that is defined as part of the ERC 721 standard, and it includes traits and the image link. So the metadata server basically has this URI, so /metadata/ID slug. So when someone is trying to query, like let's say this metadata server's URL is at chibishinobis.com, it would be like chibishinobis.com/metadata/1 for the token ID 1. And then we basically just send back the metadata blob for token ID 1. And then OpenSea asks for a contract metadata blob. So we also had something here that serves that. That's basically, the collection name, so Chibi Shinobis. Where can we find the collection image? What's the default royalty for the creator? So it's like 2.5% on all future sales. Where did the fees go? That kind of stuff. So this is the idea of the metadata server. And then finally, in the smart contract, this might be a little bit hard to see, but I have highlighted here in the deployment script, we basically include the base URI for all of the tokens and the contract URI. So that's these two portions here. We include the how to get to this URI, this endpoint on the API server, and then also how do we get to this one, contract metadata. So that way, when we deploy the smart contract, it actually stores in the constructor here, you see set base URI and set contract URI. It'll store that information. And then we also had some custom logic, like the founders get the first mint. So in the constructor as well, as soon as the contract is deployed, we mint the first 4 NFTs to the founders' addresses. And then we also implemented some cool stuff like allow list functionality. A lot of the newer NFT drops, they get hyped up so much that people just crowd into the sale, and there's gas wars where people are upping the gas fees to try and beat each other out. So allow list functionality is something pretty crucial to make sure there's kind of like a fair mint where you beforehand add addresses that are allowed to mint from your project. And then once the sale starts, you have a certain amount of time where only people from the allow list can mint. So we had some logic in the smart contract that basically adds addresses and then checks them and things like that. And then I've already talked about this part, but the metadata URL is stored as the base URI parameter upon deployment. So that way, when we call the get token URI function on our smart contract, it knows to point the response to the token URI that we talked about. And then we have deploy metrics and logging. It looks like this slide messed up a little bit, but this is the Alchemy slide. This was actually really awesome. I'll just talk about it right here. Because even before I started working at Alchemy, I discovered Alchemy as a way to help me deploy my smart contract. And it was such a seamless experience that for deploying, but then also I was able to see what are the transactions going through my smart contract. So when I was testing and I was like trying to mint, I was able to see, okay, here's my test address minting a Chibi Shinobi NFT. This is how much gas it ended up costing. This is whether or not the request failed or succeeded. And there are even ways for me to kind of alert on these transactions. So I know that when I do ship and I go to production, I can actually have like an alert that tracks whenever one of these is traded or sold. I can kind of put it into my Discord or send myself an email or something like that. So a lot of really cool tools right out the box. And then we get to the front end portion. So the first part of the front end is the landing page. This is where people will find out about your project. So for example, we talk about how every Chibi Shinobi is unique and has its own personality. Some look like OP Shinobi gods, some look like hype beasts, but all pay homage to our favorite animes, mangas, and pop culture. And then we have this little GIF that's kind of rotating different traits, so people can see like, oh, these are different things that end up changing if I get into the project. And then the crucial part is the Minter page. And so this is actually kind of like the front end of the DApp, decentralized application. That Mint button on our page, it calls like a Web3 or Ethers.js SDK. And this SDK function allows us to interact with the blockchain, the smart contract that's deployed to the blockchain. So inside the smart contract, I do have functions implemented. These are the Mint functions. So I've called them hire 1 Shinobi or hire 3 Shinobis, just to be kind of cute with it. But it's basically like mint or create 1 Chibi Shinobi and mint or create 3. And the reason I split it out this way is so that If people mint 3 at a time, there's a discount to incentivize like buying in bulk. But it's pretty simple actually. It's like 4 lines. There's a couple of checks that happen up top, and then there's a mint function that actually does the minting or the creation of the NFT. And the checks that we do, for example, are to make sure that there are only 8,888 Chibi Shinobis ever. So if our total supply is already at that number, then cancel the transaction, refund everything else, and block the minting from happening. And then the next check that we have is, are you sending the right amount of money to purchase the NFT? So if it's greater than, if the amount of Ether that you're sending in your transaction is greater than what we set the price to be, then you're good. But if it's not, then hey, it's not correct. You should try again. So that's kind of like what ends up happening. So click the mint button. The mint button on the front end is actually tied up together with Web3 or Ether's Web3 like SDK, and then that SDK is able to interact with the blockchain. Cool. So that is pretty much it. I know I kind of went through things pretty fast and high level, but there are tons of other ways to make NFTs. You'll notice that I did store the art off chain. I had the generation script, and we stored it in IPFS. But I wanted to do a quick shout out to Patrick's video. I've actually watched this and it's super helpful. This is how to make NFT art with on-chain metadata using SVGs that are encoded directly into the smart contract. And after watching this, I actually started on my second project, Cool Bombs. I decided to draw the art on my own, try my hand at art, and make the image small enough so that I can kind of convert it into an SVG. So it's a little bit different than how he's doing in the video. But I just wanted to highlight there are a lot of different ways to kind of structure the architecture of your project, depending on what your use cases are and what you want the experience to be. And then I also never touched on ERC 1155 projects, but there are different innovations there if you decide to go with that standard. So that's something that's really fun to explore as well. Cool. And so for everyone out here, the action item is if you are exploring NFTs, then we actually have tons of step-by-step guides in the Alchemy docs. This, for example, is a video that shows you how to make a minter website so that you can actually have a front end. You click a mint button and then you upload your image, and then it actually mints on the blockchain for you. We also have a step-by-step guide for how to make like an NFT smart contract. So all that stuff I decided to not share in this presentation, but point you at it so that you can kind of explore it on your own time. Awesome. And oh, looks like some slides were duplicated here. Give me a second. Yeah, I'm getting towards the end. Finally, the final thing is really just to show you how you can talk to us. We have, we're on Twitter, we're on Discord. You've probably already seen on the Chainlink Discord, we have the Alchemy support channel. This is where, myself, Albert, and a couple of my colleagues are going to be looking throughout the entire hackathon to make sure that you're unblocked. We have tons of great docs at docs.alchemy.com. So make sure to check those out if you want some help getting started. And then we also have a community Discord where we have tons of other developers who are super helpful, who are helping each other out, kind of answering questions and debugging. And also, if you're working on anything using Alchemy, then we'd love to hear about it on Twitter. We can totally boost your project, reshare it, quote tweet it, all of that good stuff. So yeah, super excited to see what you all build. Hopefully that was a useful overview for everybody who's working on NFTs, and a special bonus for people who are working across multiple chains on NFTs. So definitely ping me. Love to see all those projects, and good luck. Awesome.